All right, fastest 15 minutes on the internet, fastest 15 minutes in social media, although I may go a little bit over today because I'm going to talk about a lot of this coronavirus stuff. And because everybody keeps on asking me to do this thing from a spiritual nature and all this kind of stuff. And I like really got like a whole bunch of requests about it. And I've been praying about it and I've been meditating on it. And I'm going to be honest, I got nothing. I did say one thing last night that Babylon, according to biblical standards, Babylon is probably done for a little while, at least. I don't know if we'll be able to recover from the financial crisis. And make no mistake about it, I don't think that the virus is that big of a deal. Why don't I believe that? Because, well, first of all, this is an old virus. It's a virus that's been around for like hundreds of years, from what my research tells me. And so it's an old virus, and that's why it was on the back of the Lysol can. That's why Purell can kill it. That's why alcohol kills it. Like I said on one other post, vodka will kill it. Like any strong liquor, whiskey, Everclear, whatever you got, it'll kill it. And people are, and the thing is that they're confusing positive asymptomatic cases with, people that have the full-blown virus and that are actually sick. And then the other thing is, depending on who you believe, it's like pretty much 70 to like to 90% of the people that are getting the virus are recovering. So that leads me to think, well, then why are we closing everything down and all that, and it's not really a protective measure because, even according to some doctors, this is no more serious than the flu or a common cold or anything like that. And I think now the panic and the fear and all of that stuff that they've been like peddling at us is starting to catch up. And so that's a real problem. The fact that everybody is just fearful. They done bought out all the toilet paper. I don't know what that has to do with anything, because if you get the virus, you ain't gonna really need toilet paper. And basically from what I understand, it dries you out, and you get a dry hacking cough. You don't get, so that's why everybody's like, stay hydrated, drink a lot, the same. And basically it's the same protocol for the flu. And then I heard Dr. Oz yesterday, and so after I heard him, I was like, really? Because he was like, this virus has always been and this is I'm quoting Dr. Oz. Dr. Oz said this virus has always been around and it will always be around. It will be here forever as long as there are human beings. All right. So that's why it's on the back of the Lysol can, and people have been dying from it for hundreds of years. So you can die from it. It's just like the flu, or just like people die, y'all. And so far we've had like, I don't know, it was like, I think yesterday it was like 109 deaths in the United States. Well, if 109 people, we got 330, we got 330 million people, y'all. And for 100 people to die from something, I realize nobody needs to die. I understand that. And then death is a bad thing, like that. Okay. And we don't want it to spread or anything like that. I get it. I really do. I get it. But when you're talking about now, you're closing down the whole country. And that's why I believe that all of this is based on financial reasons. I don't believe it's a spiritual thing. I believe that the conservatives have set this up. This is their smoke screen and mirrors. Smoke screen and mirrors. And here is why I believe that. All right, first of all, let's talk about something that has just come up. The $1,000. Everybody's going to get $1,000, right? Okay. Now, for the lower class and for the lower middle class and for the lower class and for people that ain't got no money, that seems like a lot of money. But guess what? In my opinion, and this is my opinion, because people keep saying that I'm making stuff up, but this is my opinion. So whether it's made up or not, it's my opinion. All right. My opinion is that the $1,000 is nothing more than corporate welfare. Okay, because when you get that $1,000, where is it going to go? It's just like I to try to tell y'all about welfare and about food stamps and all that. When you get, if they give you $1,000, the first thing, what are you going to do? You're going to buy food. You're going to pay utility bills. How long is that money going to stay in your hand? It's not. It's going to go. It's going to go in one hand and out the other quickly, because you're already in debt. Most people in this society cannot stand to be without work for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, and now they're talking about suspending, evictions and foreclosures until April. But April is only a couple of weeks away. It ain't even that far away. That's only a week. All right. So and you're not working, because most of the employment is shut down. Everything is shut down. So people aren't working. So then when April comes around and the foreclosure man and the eviction man comes around, what you going to pay him with? The $1,000? And most people, and the average, this is the thing, the average rent in the United States of America is $1,200. Most people, there's studies out there, you can look at it. Most people do not make enough money to pay their basic bills. They're floating money all the time. So $1,000 is corporate welfare. It's going to go straight to Walmart, straight to Target, straight to, Amazon, straight to whoever that you buy your daily goods from. That's who it's going to end up going to. So it's corporate welfare, because they're going to end up getting that money. It's just another way for them to steal. So now let's talk about the other financial considerations. The stock market has crashed. Okay, make no mistake about it. The stock market has crashed. They have put $2.5 trillion out there. They floated $2.5 trillion so far. The Fed has. Now remember, the Fed is not part of the federal government. What the Fed is doing is they're loaning us money so that we will stay afloat for a little while. But guess what? We have to pay that money back, or I should say the banks do, because this is the way the system works. Okay, the Fed gives money to the banks, and then banks give the money to us, or they loan us the money, or however we come about the money, right? We're already estimated $22 to $24 trillion in debt, and then you add another $2 trillion onto that. So you're almost at $30 trillion in debt, because that money is also, remember that they're gaining interest on that money, even though they say, now they cut the rate down to the banks to 0%, but the banks are not going to loan you the money at 0%. All right. So you're not going to get that money at 0%, no matter what. Okay. So now let's go to the next factor. So the stock market has crashed. The money that they're floating is not real, because it's not backed by anything. Remember, we don't have a gold standard or a silver standard or anything like that. That money is just money that they're printing. Okay. Other people in the world, China, North Korea, whoever, Japan, Germany, Russia, everybody, they know that the money is not solid. Which means what? That the value of the dollar is going to deflate. Okay, now, if you got money and you can't if people owe you money and they don't pay you your money, what do? Eventually, just like the same thing that happened when Bush was in office, son Bush, the baby Bush was in office, right? What happened? The banks foreclosed, and they foreclosed on millions of people's houses, which is what is about to happen. It's unavoidable. Because eventually what's going to happen is the banks won't be able to stay afloat, because they don't have enough money coming in. All right. So you got this deficit, you got a crash stock market, which means that people are not investing in corporations. The money. Okay. And then the next factor is what? The next factor absolutely is the 30% tax cut that they gave to major businesses. All right. So you got major businesses out here, right, that are not paying taxes. And we've read online, that you've read online about all of these big money people that don't pay any taxes. Amazon, Bezos and Amazon, they didn't pay almost any taxes. Okay, you cannot run a government, you cannot run a system with no money. Okay, and then on top of that, you're taking all of the money away from the lower and the middle class. The lower and the middle class is what usually keeps an economy going. Why? Because they're buying all of the consumer goods. They are keeping the economy afloat. But when you take away all of their money, then what's going to keep the economy afloat? And it's also tax time. They talk about they extended the taxes for 3 months and all that kind of stuff. It's tax time, but people can't afford to pay taxes. Why? Because we have this crisis going on. And the people that are supposed to get refunds, that's more money being drained out of the economy, being drained out of the system. So you don't have a tax base. You don't have any money. And then they're talking about, and then plus the $1,000 that they're going to give you, we gotta eventually, it's not a free $1,000, y'all. Eventually that money has to be replaced. It's not free. How many times have your parents or somebody older and wiser than you said, ain't nothing for free. Ain't no free lunches, ain't nothing for free. Eventually, if you dance to the music, you gotta pay the piper. And then here's the other thing. So we are between 22 and 24 trillion dollars in debt, and maybe by the end, $30 trillion in debt. Okay, who do we owe the money to? See, that's what I'm trying to tell you. We are not, and then on top of this, we are closing all of the mom and pop businesses. There are businesses out here that are not going to be able to sustain, 14 days to 30 days. And even Trump even said that it will be July before a lot of these businesses are open back. Plus, we have no sports. We have nothing going on that's going to influx money into our economy. All the major, even all the major corporations, like the beer companies, the potato chip companies, all of those companies like that, guess what? They run off of the sports industry. If we don't have sports, they don't sell a lot of beer. They don't sell a lot of soft drinks. They don't sell a lot, because why? Because people do that. And then you close the bars down, which is another major selling point for all of these products. It's a major selling point. So what are you going to do? You don't have any money coming in. There's no money. And it's, in fact, it's worse than during the Great Depression. And then the next thing that's going to happen, and look, eight major corporations, their CEOs or directors or whatever, resigned, stepped down. And what did they do when they resigned or stepped down? They took money with them. Well, you know how these corporate guys do. When they resign or retire or whatever, they get a severance package. They get millions of dollars, and then they leave. And they ride off into the sunset, because look, rich people, wealthy people, and families that are wealthy will be able to ride the storm out. But the middle class, even the upper middle class, the middle class and the lower class won't be able to ride out months without working. Most people can't ride out weeks without working. And that's what we're asking them to do. The schools are closed, and then the only thing you're really talking about, and what about your utilities and all of that? You have, the average person, even right now, before all of this happened, the average person in the United States of America was not making enough money to pay all their bills every month. That's why I say most people are on the float. They pay what they can, when they can, how they can. That's most people in America. Most people in America are actually living below the poverty line. And that's why all of these things about the minimum wage and everything, that's why they're so important. And that's why voting is so important, y'all. Everybody wants to get mad at me about voting, but that's why, because when these rich folks, conservatives, get a hold of everything, because they don't care, because they can ride it out. But they don't care about what's going to happen to you. So that's why it's been really rough for me to come up with a spiritual, like a spiritual thing about this virus, because the virus is old, and I think that they're just using it. And the ground zero, if you go to the ground zero in China, 70% of those people recovered. The people that died, even Dr. Oz said the people that died because there was a lack of treatment and because they didn't know what they were dealing with. So the first people that died, they didn't really know what it was. But after they discovered what it was, and there was also a lack of ventilators and respirators to put the people on, they didn't have the proper equipment. All right, so they didn't have the proper equipment, and so that's why a lot of them died. And some people are still dying just because of the fact that because they were exposed to it. And most of the people, even the ones that died in other countries and stuff like that, it was because they contacted the people, the original at ground zero. All right. And here's the other thing. From the looks of it, and I know there's a lot of theories out there about, is it a man-made contagion? Is it whatever? Is it something that, United States, because China and, Iran have accused the United States of creating this virus. All right. But at ground zero in China, it appears that those bats, because I've read like 4 different reports about them eating bats, all right, and eating contaminated meat, which would make the infection, if they caught the coronavirus, it would make it worse because they ingested it, all right. So it was an ingested thing. So you understand what I'm saying? So it's not one of those things like you're saying, it's airborne, and it's not really passing airborne. And here's the other thing, and then. So let's get into the black thing, the racial aspect of it. In Italy, okay, that's another reason. And Dr. Oz addressed this as well. He said that in Italy, most of the people that died were elderly. They were old. And their immune systems were already compromised. All right. So let's look at but still, let's break down the racial aspect. Okay. It was a bunch of Italians, white folk. Let's be honest. Let's be real. So that's why they took it more seriously, because Bill Gates, right? Bill Gates said 100 million Africans would die from it. And then all of a sudden they discovered that Africans wasn't dying from it. And what it appears to me, even though nobody is saying this, what it appears to me, and in my opinion, I believe that Africans and descendants of Africans are carriers. I believe we carry the virus because it's an old virus, but I believe we're immune to it. Because everybody that they've had that's been African or descendant of African, they've tested positive, but they're asymptomatic. They don't have the symptoms, which means that you're a carrier. Just like any other human virus. There are tons of viruses, y'all. Hepatitis. How many different types of hepatitis are there? You see what I'm saying? How many types of herpes are there? How many types of, but it doesn't mean you're going to die. Certain people die from it because it becomes full blown. It's just like HIV. How long, once again, how long has Magic Johnson had HIV, but he ain't died? Being a carrier is a lot different from having full-blown symptoms. And there are literally thousands of viruses. Thousands. Why do you think? Look on the back of Perel, and look on the back of Lysol, and look on the back of bleach, and look on the back of ammonia, and all of these things that are carcinogens that kill things, right? And you will see a ton of viruses and a ton of different types of viruses, and viruses mutate all the time. The common cold, the flu. How many types of flu are there? But certain things will kill the virus. Just like I was just saying, okay, like if you feel sick, and that's why the big pharmaceutical industries don't want us to eat good and don't want us to understand the science of alchemy. They don't want us to understand that, because 9 times out of 10, you could take a shot of liquor and whatever you have is gone because it'll kill it. I'm just being honest. So and a lot of it just has to do with good hygiene, good, wash it, just like they telling you, wash your hands, now, the avoid, contact with people you ain't got to be in contact with, all that kind of stuff. That's smart. I'm not saying that's dumb, but look, the bottom line is, but it appears that Africans and descendants of Africans probably can carry the disease but not get sick. And there have been a couple of people that have died. Yeah, I'm not saying, but that's with any type of virus. It's just normal. So why close the entire country down? Oh yeah, and I forgot about the airlines and the travel industry. They're saying they probably not going to make it past the end of the month before they're going to have to declare bankruptcy. And you're not going to be able to bail out. And they always talk about bailing out. But how you going to bail out companies and multi-million-dollar and billion-dollar companies when you don't have any money? And that's what I'm trying to relate to everybody. We are out of money. We are probably, we're probably the poorest country in the world. Even though we don't believe it, we are, because we owe everybody. We owe everybody. And so let's go back to the theory of that the United States created this virus. Maybe they did, or maybe they spread it on purpose. We don't know. I saw an article where some Harvard doctors were arrested, by the government, by the federal government, because, maybe they created this virus, maybe they created a strain of this virus in the lab that would kill people. We don't know, because they're all hush hush about it. And maybe they realized that our economic collapse was so imminent that they wanted to bring China down too. Or they wanted to bring, because these are major, countries. All right. So anyway, so that's how I feel, and that's what everything, all of my smarts or whatever. I ain't gonna say I'm like a genius or nothing like that, but all of my smarts are telling me, I'm gonna be like Dr. Watkins today, be like, for intelligent black people. But everything is telling me we out of money. And we trying to do something to cover it up. And that's what I think Trump is doing. And the other thing is, and this is the other thing, I had a friend of mine, one of my frat brothers who's in the medical field, right? And he told me, he was like, they already have an FDA approved vaccine. And remember, and I don't know if y'all remember when all this stuff first started going on, Trump said, when the vaccine comes out, everybody won't be able to afford it. And then the next thing is, so that brings me to the thing of, is this going to be another mandatory vaccine or something like that? Because I'm not taking no vaccine. I'm going to just I'm going to be real. I never took a flu shot. I don't take, and I took vaccinations when I was young. That was only because I didn't know any better, but now ain't no way in the world y'all going to inject me with nothing. Not after the Tuskegee syphilis experiments and, all this stuff they've done, Agent Orange and everything else that they've done to people, and especially black men. They don't even care nothing about us. They'll inject us with anything. I'm just being, and I'm not being racist. I'm just being truthful because it's truth. It's stuff that's happened. Anyway, so that's the fastest, how many minutes? I got like 25. That's the fastest 25 minutes. I had to change the name of the show. But look, y'all, just be safe and don't do that stupid. Don't be on there like the folks I seen on the internet licking doorknobs and and handles on stuff and stuff like that. Because that'll kill you anyway. Because look, there are germs out here. There are viruses out here. That's just the nature of humanity. That's the nature of the world we live in. There are carcinogens. There are all kinds of stuff. That's why people die. Look, y'all, people die. It's just a fact of life. But to close the whole thing down over 100 people, nah. When you got 30 million. I'm sorry, 300 million. I'm getting my numbers confused. When you got 300 million people and 100 people die. Look, 100 people died last night of homelessness on the streets. 100 people died this past week through gun violence. 100 people died. One of my frat brothers told me, oh, you make these ridiculous analogies. But I'm just telling you, a lot of people died. And we don't make major crisis out of everybody that dies. We just don't. That's not the nature of the beast. Anyway, Fast 15 Minutes is up. My name is Judson Powell. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification button, hit all the buttons, but most of all, love one another and hit the love button.